In its quest to provide an open forum for discussion of controversial issues, this station allows hosts and their guests to express themselves without any significant censorship. You're advised that any views expressed by the hosts or their guests are not necessarily the views of Togi Entertainment or its partners.
Motherhood Incorporated proudly presents Military Mom Talk Radio live on TogiNet.com. Co-hosted by Robin Boyd and Sandra Beck, the owner of Motherhood Incorporated. Military Mom Talk Radio is here with a powerful platform for women to discuss their ideas, issues, and concerns with respect to the military lifestyle. Military Mom Talk Radio encourages you to share your experiences of being a military wife and mother. This show is dedicated to educating your family about the many resources that are available in both the public and private sector, and we'll be sharing helpful information from women all over the world. We'll cover everything military, from helping a family member cope with post-traumatic stress disorder, to navigating government programs dealing with family issues, to the struggles of deployment, along with being a working mother both in and out of the home. This is Military Mom Talk Radio, and here are your hosts, Sandra Beck and Robin Boyd.
Hey, Military Mom, this is Sandra Beck, and I'm here with Robin Boyd, and we've got a great show today. We have author Melissa Bowersock coming on to talk to us about her book, which is very, very exciting. Then we're going to welcome Blythe Lipman, which she's always fun. She's so great for so much information on kids. I wish I had known her when my kids were little. How about you, Rob?
I know. There's so many times that Blythe just has this no-nonsense way of looking at things, and it's sort of the most practical thing. And I don't know if some of our listeners realize it, but Blythe's show is on Wednesdays, and she has some of the most interesting guests. But I also want to talk to her about some of the recalls that she features on her show every week. She gives a list of current recalls, and when you stop and think about it, isn't that something that almost every week she's got another recall to talk about?
That is amazing. And it's so hard to know how to keep up with everything. And I love that you can just listen to her show and she will tell us, what we need to know.
And that's it. I think so many times I find myself being a little leery about buying something, because whether it's something that's a consumable or something that's a product for the house or whatever, you think, gee, okay, what's the background on this? Where has it been tested? I don't have a subscription right now to Consumer Reports, but so many times I think, all right, how much do I have to research this before I invest in it? It's kind of scary to think that we have to be that leery or that suspicious of everything that we do.
Well, but you know what? There are so many products on the market today. There's so many things that, we need to be aware of. But sometimes it's like information overload. Honest to God, some of this stuff I can't take anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's true. I think that there are times that there's just too much, and there again, that's where the validity of things, whether you're reading something about a product or reading something, I don't know, even if it's on the news, if it becomes a political thing, you have to really say, all right, where's the source? What was the research? How was the research done? Is this really a valid statistic or point of view? And I guess we just have to be more we have to be our own advocate to be able to say, yes, this is right for me. Yes, this nutrient is what I need. Or I don't know about you, but it takes me forever to get through the grocery store because I'm reading every single label. I'm not going to listen to the commercials on TV. I'm going to read the label, and I'm going to look at what's in the packaging and what's in the ingredients.
Absolutely. Well, and I'm finding that I'm sticking to the same tried and true things that I know are safe. No, I'm very, very leery about trying any new product. And if it's a new product from a brand I don't know and trust, even harder to get that thing in my shopping cart.
Even dietary supplements. You and I were talking about niacin not that long ago, and I went to the drugstore, and I had about 4 or 5 different options as far as brands just to buy niacin. And in reading the ingredients on the back, I was realizing that there were additives in some of the brands. It was not just the niacin. Yes, you expect the little capsule to have a covering over it, or the little, the gel cap or whatever it is. But in one of them, I found caffeine in the niacin. And I said, whoa, I really have got to isolate this completely and make sure that what I'm getting is all that I am getting, not 5 or 10 other things that have been kind of thrown in there just to give it a little punch and give it a fake effect, I guess you could say.
Yeah, it's very, very difficult, with my dad living with me, I see I watch sugar and I watch salt, and with my kids I watch sugar, and sugar is like hidden and under all these different names too. I actually had to print out a little list that I keep. I'm so anal retentive, I keep it in my purse because, I don't know what half of this stuff is. I'm not a chemist, but the one thing that I will say, and this will make you laugh, is like I like to buy Fritos and I like to buy corn chips, and if you read the bag, like Lay's, it says corn and oil, or potatoes.
There
and
you
oil.
go.
And it's like, I know what those things are. I know what I'm getting. Are they fattening? Absolutely. Are they delicious? Absolutely. And salt. They say salt in there. But you know what? Those are 3 ingredients. I know what I'm buying.
You have to have a little guilty pleasure. I mean, yes, we can live on fruits and grains forever and think that we're the most healthy. But, there's nothing wrong with a little potato in a corn or a corn chip. I'm sorry. You're going to have it's moderation, and it's being able to eat a little bit of it, to be able to put it in a little container and only eat the container instead of sitting with the bag, which is so tempting. But I know we do. But there again, if you read the back of a corn chip bag and it's got a 2-inch long paragraph worth of ingredients, that's when you say, all right, I guess this isn't the best option for me.
Right. But you know what? But at least on some of these things, I know what's in it. Most of the time I don't. I have no idea what these things are. And I got to the point where I would bring my phone and I would start looking this stuff up, and then I'd read the side effects, and then I'm like, oh my God, I can't eat anything but like an ear of corn, and even that's genetically modified.
Exactly. And one of the things that I think too is if I'm in a different store, how differently everything is laid out, and some of the brands aren't there. And I think of some of our military families who end up getting PCS'd to a new location where that brand isn't carried. Maybe they don't have that brand of vitamins. And thank goodness for some places like Amazon.com, because at least if you buy your vitamins through Amazon, you're always going to be able to get that brand of vitamin, and you know what's in the brand. It's really expensive to try something else. I get really frustrated. I'll spend $15 or mouthwash. My goodness, I spent $12 on a particular kind of mouthwash that I liked, and I can't find it anymore. I like that mouthwash. So I'm trying other ones, and it's $8, $9, $12, $14, and then only to get it home and say, gee, I really don't like this. That's really frustrating.
And it was. It is.
I have been known to send things back, though. I'm a good one for writing to a company and say, this really didn't meet up to what you said it would on the label. So I have been fortunate to have some feedback, some good feedback from companies. My daughter, when she was traveling in Florida recently, she went to Disney, was absolutely had the best time, she and her husband, but they went to another amusement park down there after the Disney stay, and they were so disappointed with the hotel. She wrote to, she's my kid. She wrote to the minute they got home, the next day she wrote to the management of that particular hotel and told them what her problem was. It was unclean, that she had a list of things that were troublesome that she didn't like. Do you know what? They refunded every penny of her stay there.
Wow.
Yep. So I got to say, there's something to be said for and the hospitality girl. Of course, we don't know the truth exactly. We weren't there when it happened, but they assured her that because the hospitality girl did not meet up to their standards, that she was no longer employed by their company.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. I said, wow, Emily, you got power.
I know. I could use her in a couple other areas of my life.
It's true. It's amazing and then that brings me back. We talked last week a little bit about that show, Undercover Boss. It's not on right now, but these bosses that went undercover and realized what was going on in their company. And so many times I would think, as a company owner, you're so busy with what's going on in the corporate level that you're not as in touch with what's going on in the field, and how valuable it was for these bosses to go down in the field and realize, wow, this is happening, or that's happening. It's kind of scary.
It is. But you know what? I think it's great. It's like with all these cell phones and camera phones and stuff like that, we're starting to see, and I think it's really great that, people can actually prove things, videotape or, audio recording, even though I know they're not admissible in court. It's like that time I threatened that nasty baseball guy who kept yelling at the kids, and I came up with my iPhone and I held him. He's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm filming you, and you're going to be on YouTube." Man, did he shut up fast.
See, it's accountability. I mean, before, when things were not so transparent, it was a lot easier to pull the wool over people's eyes. Sandra, coming up on our next segment, we have talking about not having information readily available. The story that we're going to hear about is phenomenal in that in our day and age now, we get instant information between cell phones and texts and videos. But back in the World War II era, we didn't have that kind of instant gratification. And as a result, the family that we're going to hear about just angsted, if that's the word, they were so troubled because they had no information about their daughter, had no idea where she was, and come to find out she was being held prisoner by the Japanese at this time. So we're going to hear all about Marcia Gates. She is an angel of Bataan, and her family, Melissa Bowersock, has put together a wonderful testament to this wonderful woman. Stay tuned and hear all about it.
Are you a military mom looking for help in dealing with the system? Keeping the home fires burning? Well, that's what we're here for. It's Military Mom Talk Radio with Sandra Beck and Robin Boyd. And we'll be right back after these.
Are you fascinated by the stories behind the stories? The people behind their masks? The truth about people's failures and redemptions in both their business and personal lives? Then Off the Record Secrets Of with host Judy Schreiner is for you. It's people's secrets that make them interesting, but very few folks are willing to reveal them unless they trust that their information will be treated with accuracy, fairness, and respect. People have been entrusting their secrets to longtime business journalist Judy Schreiner for the last 25 years, and now she's bringing her expertise and impressive contact list to Rockstar Radio Network. Tune in and call in as host Judy Schreiner talks to guests off the record as they reveal new secrets each Tuesday at noon Eastern, 11 a.m. Central.
Do you feel like when you watch a cooking show or read a food magazine that the recipes are not practical for a busy family? Do you wish you could have a conversation with someone about the best way to get dinner on the table fast after a long day at work? Are you tired of cooking dinner only to have your family turn up their nose at all of your hard work? Do you want to hear more about healthy living and finding more time to find your passion in life? Well, pull up a chair and visit with Heather Tallman, host of Around the Kitchen Sink, Thursday nights at 10 p.m. here on TogiNet Radio. Like many women, finding balance in life and time to take care of yourself is hard to do. Between managing a career and marriage and children and a busy family schedule, it's hard to maintain a sense of self. And Heather shares how she does it. Check out Heather's website, basilmama.com. Join us for food and a whole lot more on Around the Kitchen Sink with your host, Heather Tallman. Thursday nights at 10 p.m. Central on TogiNet.com.
We'll put a boot in your ass Cause it's the American way. Hey, Uncle Sam, put your name at the top of his list, and the Statue of Liberty started shaking.
Welcome back to Military Mom Talk Radio on TogiNet.com. Covering topics to help on the home front with help from those who know how the system works and how to work the system. It's more fun than a sale at the VX. Now let's get back to it. It's Military Mom Talk Radio. Here again are your hosts, Sandra Beck and Robin Boyd.
Hey, Military Moms, this is Sandra Beck, and I'm here with Robin Boyd. And just a reminder for you, please buy your Girl Scout cookies. You cannot miss them. They are everywhere. Just pull out a 5-spot, hand it over, take the cookies. If you don't want to eat them, buy some for the troops. I got my 2 boxes today from Hannah Holly, and Robin, you are just a guru over there, but I wanted to remind everybody to get the Girl Scout cookies.
Thank you. Absolutely. I'm so proud of what our girls do. And if you haven't found out what a box of cookies can do, go to girlscoutcookies.org and look at the little video. It's really empowering. Thanks, Sam.
Yeah, I know what cookies can do. I'll see you on the treadmill. We're going to welcome our guest, Melissa Bowersock. She has written an outstanding book, Marcia Gates, The Angel of Bataan, and we are so happy to have her with us today on the air. Melissa, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself for our readers who may not be aware of you or your book?
Well, thank you very much for having me on. I'm actually primarily a novelist. I've got 9 novels out, and this book about my aunt was the first time I had ever written nonfiction. So it was a real challenge for me to switch gears and not just invent whatever I wanted to, but to go by the facts and present the story as it actually happened. So it was an interesting experience for me.
That must have been fascinating, but yet it must have created so many questions. And I'll bet that you were compelled to keep on digging and keep on digging and keep on digging. Did you find that you had so much information, or did you find the information difficult to assemble?
You know, I did not have near as much information as I wanted. The problem is my aunt and all of her generation are gone. So I had no one to ask about this. But when I started doing my research, I found out that the Wisconsin Historical Society, Wisconsin's where my aunt was from, had in their possession 2 scrapbooks that were made by my grandmother while my aunt was in the service. And I was able to download PDF files of both of these scrapbooks, and they turned out just to be a treasure trove because my grandmother kept every letter, every telegram. She had photos. She had every single newspaper clipping that had anything to do with it and all kinds of memorabilia. And it was like a time capsule. So with that, that was the basis for the book. And I could actually go step by step, what happened, who wrote what letter on what day. And it was marvelous.
Wow.
That's so exciting.
Yeah, it was. And once I got to reading this stuff, there's even a letter in there from President Roosevelt on White House stationery. And once I got to reading all this and really understanding the details, I thought, I have to write this story because otherwise it's just going to sit in a drawer and nobody's ever going to know about it.
My first thought about this book, I had so many thoughts as I went through it. The first thought, as I kind of alluded to it at the beginning, was the lack of communication and how your grandmother must have ached every day not knowing what was happening to her daughter. I don't think young people today, and that was my second thought, was your book is such a wonderful vehicle for young people to know what people experienced in that era. The lack of knowledge and the lack of knowing. And she went everywhere, Red Cross. She went to every department that she possibly could. Your grandmother must have been a very strong and determined woman.
She definitely was, and you can tell that by what she does in the book. I mean, she was not going to sit on her hands and wait for somebody to tell her something. She was going out and knocking on doors and ringing doorbells and just drumming up anybody that she could that might be able to help her get the information. So in that day, in the 40s, I think she was unusual in that she was not a wallflower. But this is actually the story of my family, which is very strong women. And another thing that strikes me when you talk about the contrast between then and now is that nowadays we think it's a tragedy if we don't have enough bars on our phone and we drop a call. Or we think it's a tragedy if it takes a web page longer than 5 seconds to load. And then when you read about my aunt and the hardship that she went through, you realize how fortunate we are. I mean, to have things just at our fingertips. And the things that she went through and the things that she persevered through, it's a pretty amazing story.
Melissa, how do you translate that into military advice for today? I mean, I get that, obviously we need to be more patient. We live in an instant society. But, you talk about the knocking on doors, and both Robin and I get a lot of requests from the public for information. Can we help them with this? Can we find them that? What is your advice today for military families after you wrote this book? What did you come away with?
I guess the lesson is, don't take no for an answer, and keep at it. And if you run into a dead end here, then go a different direction and try something else, because somebody somewhere has to know something. But unless they know you're looking for the information, they may not know how to get it to you. So I think that's what I would say is don't give up and just keep asking. Keep asking.
That's amazing in that I think so many times a parent would need this information and being able to have, I guess, the same as when you go to the doctor. The doctor says X, this is my answer, and you walk away and you say, okay, he's the doctor, I should believe him. And the same thing is you'll get a directive from whatever department and you think, okay, this is the government telling me this, I guess I should listen to it. And I love your family's approach is that, no, I don't have to settle for this. I need to get more information, and I'm not going to be satisfied until I do. What do you think was one of the most enjoyable thing about putting this book together? Because I'm sure you were compelled with details to make sure that you put as much detail and factual information. But where was your joy? What was the most joyful thing for you?
I think the most joyful thing is just putting the story out there. Actually, when I wrote it, I honestly did not think I wasn't writing it to be a commercial success. I really actually didn't care about that. I just wanted her story set down, and I wanted it out there where it would be available. But I honestly didn't think that I would sell more than 2 or 3 copies to family, and the interest that this book has generated has been phenomenal, and that's been wonderful for me to know that her story touches people and that it's relevant, as you're saying, that it's relevant to people today. So that has been a great joy and very surprising to me. Because I actually did not expect that. I just figured I was going to write it, put it out there, and see what happened. And so the response has been wonderful.
Oh. In the last few minutes that we have, Melissa, I would like the listeners to know in 2004 what Wisconsin State Department of Veterans Affairs did in honor of Marcia Gates.
Oh, Oh yeah, they built a new wing at the Veterans Center, and they dedicated the hall to my aunt. And I understand that there were quite a few honorees in the running, and they chose her, which to me is a great honor. So it's a veterans home for older vets, obviously, and it's called Gates Hall. Matter of fact, it makes me cry just talking about it.
Well, I got to say I'm kind of tearing up here too, Melissa, because I think that is a true testament not only to Marcia, but also to you for bringing her story to light, because I think that this is an incredible honor. And the plaque says, in honor of Marcia Gates, Army nurse who provided compassionate care and selflessness service to fellow servicemen and women while held captive in the Philippines during World War II. And boy, that's very minimally put. After reading the book, you know exactly the courageous efforts and amazing work that she did while she was there. How much were you able to enjoy her after she came home? I just don't have the dates quite in my head, but how long did you have to have her with you after she came home?
You know what, to tell you the truth, my parents moved to California, and so I grew up in California, and I actually did not see my aunt very often. I think I might have seen her a handful of times after the war, and she died in 1970, again, back in Wisconsin.
Sure.
So I did not have a lot of time with her, and at the time, of course, growing up as a kid, I didn't think much about it. Now, of course, I would give anything to be able to sit down and have a conversation with her.
Well, I think the conversations are in your heart with her, because she certainly did leave a lot of documentation. Your grandmother was a saint in pulling all of this together, and I encourage everybody to pick up this book and read it. They can find the book at newmoonrising.net, and that's NEWMOONRISING.net. Thank you, Melissa. Boston
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Stay tuned. We've got Blythe Lipman.
Are you a military mom looking for help in dealing with the system? Keeping the home fires burning? Well, that's what we're here for. It's Military Mom Talk Radio with Sandra Beck and Robin Boyd. And we'll be right back after these.
I am not the woman I used to be. I'm free with Minister Diane Jones. Monday nights at 10, 9 Central on TogiNet. This is your chance, ladies, to hear stories of hope and healing from someone who's been there. Someone who has fought back from the horrors of incest. Minister Diane's innocence was stolen from her in the land of alcoholism and mental illness, which led to her being emotionally, physically, and sexually abused by her parents. Yet in spite of this trauma, she has gone on to become a successful wife, mother, registered nurse, and minister of the gospel of Jesus Christ. I'm Not the Woman I Used to Be. I'm Free is a straight-up show to enlighten you and to lighten your load. Do not let the weight of this world or the things that have happened to you control your life. For more on the show and Diane and her book, The Story of Me, email her directly from her show page here on TogiNet. Then, join us for I'm Not the Woman I Used to Be. I'm Free with Minister Diane Jones. Monday nights at 10, 9 Central on TogiNet.com. Are you the kind of parent who just wants their kids to live the life of their dreams? Well, grab your kids and join How to Raise a Millionaire Radio with Ann Morgan James and Jack James. It's a lively interview and call-in show, Thursday, 6 p.m. Central on the Rockstar Radio Network. This dynamic mother and son team are on a mission. They want to empower kids to dream big and go after those dreams with gusto. They want to fill the world with kid entrepreneurs. Are your kids ready for success? Don't miss their fun antics, lively guests, and discussions. For more on Ann and Jack and their show, check out their website, howtoraiseamillionaire.com. Then join the conversation of lively interviews and call-ins. And let's give our kids the tools and encouragements they need to build a future they can bank on, no matter what the economy throws their way. It's How to Raise a Millionaire Radio with Ann Morgan James and Jack James. Thursdays, 6 p.m. Central on the Rockstar Radio Network.
'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA.
Welcome back to Military Mom Talk Radio on TogiNet.com. Covering topics to help on the home front with help from those who know how the system works and how to work the system. It's more fun than a sale at the BX. Now let's get back to it. It's Military Mom Talk Radio. Here again are your hosts, Sandra Beck and Robin Boyd.
Hi, girls. This is Sandra Beck, and I'm here with Robin Boyd. And our guest that we just had on was Melissa Bowersock. She wrote this great book called Marcia Gates, The Angel of Bataan. If you guys want to find it, you might find it easier to find it on Amazon.com. I know for me, I just love Amazon. I love my Kindle. One click, and there you go. And it's so fast. The other thing that I love, Rob, is I love our guest coming up. I think she has a heart of gold. I think she does so much for women everywhere. You know, Robin, you remember this. When you have kids, especially, you know, I'm closer to having the kids than you are in this respect, you don't know what you're doing. You know, they just come out, they do the darndest things. You know, my brothers were older than me, so the idea of what little boys do as they're growing up is just astounding to me. I mean, seriously, I look at them and go, are you from a different planet? Because I have no idea what you're doing, and Blythe has done such a great job demystifying a lot of that and giving us the tools. So I want to welcome Blythe Lipman.
I can't talk. My head is swelled. Thank you, Sandra. I love both you guys, too. You're so great. You have such wonderful information, and thanks so much for having me on this show. Love your show. Just tweeted about it.
Oh, you're so sweet. Blythe is a wealth of information. And you know what's fun, too, is I love sitting in your chat room, Blythe, I got to say, because we have the most wonderful conversations in the chat room during your show.
You know, Robin is moonlighting as the therapist in the chat room on my show because we always get great questions, and I don't even have to answer them on the show because Robin does a terrific job. So Dr. Robin, I call her. You know, I'll tell you something funny. You're talking about parents not knowing what to do, Sandra. This is really funny. I take care of a 9-month-old sometimes, and she has just discovered her voice, and she lets out the most blood-curdling scream. Not only does it hurt your ears, but you jump 50 feet, and it's laughter. I mean, she knows her voice, and it's so funny because it's a first baby. I love these new parents to death. They're wonderful, and they think it is the cutest thing. And I finally said, what are you going to do when you take her on the plane and she does this? Because they travel quite a bit. And I said, don't encourage it. You know what? Don't scream back. They're screaming back and laughing. I said, you know what? Walk away. Walk away. It is cute, but you don't realize that you're enforcing and you're teaching them it's okay to scream at the top of your lungs.
No, boy, and I can tell you, you know, Blythe, my family is in New York and I live in Los Angeles, and I had to fly back and forth with my kids, especially when my mom was dying and having her mastectomies and all these things. And I got to tell you, I was the most hated woman on United for months because you're right. It's like, well, I had a toddler and a newborn, so the one would scream, the other one would laugh, then they both cry. And I swear to God, what is it with babies that poop on takeoff? That's the only time you can't get up and change their diaper.
And then you get the looks. Did you see I talked about on my show one morning, there was a family that had 2-month-old twins or 2-week-old twins. Mm-hmm. And as they got on the flight, they gave everybody a goodie bag with a number of their seats and said, we apologize ahead of time if our boys scream. Here's a little something. We're in seat, blah, 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 if you want to come yell at us.
Oh, my God, that's hilarious.
That is hilarious.
And they didn't cry. You know what? I think they were only 2 weeks old. They didn't cry because they were really newborn. And anyway, I thought that was pretty good.
Oh, God, that's funny.
That is, I used to feed mine on takeoff. I would actually try not to, and maybe, like, you can tell me if this is cruel and inhuman, but I wouldn't feed them, like, the first 2 hours before the flight would take off. Then they'd be so hungry and thirsty, and I'd be feeding them on takeoff. And, a lot of times they'd cry through the airport, but they would fall asleep, because they were so happy to eat. And, I didn't know what else to do other than wear these little suckers out. It's a 6.5-hour direct flight.
I think though it's smart. Isn't it true though? Because when they're suckling, that's helping the pressure in their ears. So, and I think that's probably half of the reason why kids cry is they get that sensation. It's not that it's painful, but when you change altitude, you get that funny pressure in your ear, and they don't know what that is.
You know what? And it's loud in the airport anyway. I think it's great you do that because they can't tell us. We can't give them a piece of gum like we chew if it hurts our ears.
Sure.
Whatever works. You know what? I tell parents all the time there is no right or wrong. Every baby, every child, all of us, we're all different, and whatever works. But, I was listening to the show in the beginning, and you were talking a lot about recalls. And I do recalls. It's usually the second or third thing I do on my show every Wednesday. And it's amazing, the recalls. On babyinstructions.com, that's my website, I have a recall page at the top, and I update it every single week. And it's so interesting to me because some of the things that are recalled are such common sense things. Like last week they had a recall with a folding step stool because when you stood on it, it cracked. And I thought, no, I hope nobody's going to try to tape it or do other things. Or like some of the recalls, they had magnet balls, and you didn't want the kids to put them in your mouth. And you know what? Parents don't know. You don't know that something isn't safe. If you've never had a baby before, it looks safe to you, and you don't know. But
and the one thing, too, like I want to share with you guys, I have 2 little boys. They are very, very identical in nature, identical in looks. My first one never, ever, ever in a million years would wrap anything around his neck. The second one, if it was an electrical cord, if it was a cord hanging from the wall, if it was a scarf, he was just, suicide waiting to happen. And I was so unprepared because the difference from one kid to the other, and I remember reading when the blinds were put up going, oh my God, what kid would wrap his neck around or wrap the blinds around his neck? My God, my second one did.
You know what? You don't know. Like I tell parents, get on the floor and crawl on the floor when you are going to childproof your home. Because to you, there's a little cord hanging from your computer that could pull everything down to a baby or to a toddler. Or they don't know. It looks fun. Let's wrap it around our neck or let's pull it first and see if it falls off. It's scary. One of the biggest things that is so scary that's gotten worse in the years is that there's been a lot of instances with televisions and bookshelves falling on kids and chests of drawers because toddlers like to climb. They'll climb on the chest of drawers. The whole thing's falling on them. If a TV is not stable, they'll try to pull on it. I tell parents all the time, if you have a bookshelf, make sure that you bolt it to the wall. Find the stud, get a carpenter, whatever, because they're going to experiment. It's normal. That's how they grow and learn. They're going to try things, and we have to keep them safe.
Mm-hmm. That was my Emily. She would pull out every drawer and stagger it so that it was like a set of stairs. And she would climb up to be on top of a chest of drawers just that way. She would pull out all the drawers.
They're so smart. We can laugh now, huh, Robin? They're grown up.
Yeah. But, you're right, Blythe, especially with televisions. Because, when I was growing up, televisions weighed as much as my dad. Those big tube things.
Yeah.
You weren't going to move those suckers.
Consoles, sure.
But, we look at the cute little flat screens that we have now that are so light and so convenient. It's like you can pull those suckers right off the top of the console.
Oh, yeah, and they have. And unfortunately, it's children have been killed with these things falling on them. And there's no manual. That's why I did help. My baby came without instructions. I have a whole chapter on childproofing.
What about in the wintertime of course, you're not in the miserable weather, but many of us who are housebound, the kids are going to get into a lot more stuff being cooped up in the wintertime. What are you saying to parents as far as helping them be stimulated in a creative way instead of getting into mischief?
I have to say, both of my children were born in Portland, Maine, and I lived those years when they were babies in the snow. So I remember well. They're bored. They're cranky. You're cranky because you can't get out of the house, and you put the snowsuit on and get the gloves and everything. Then they're cold in 3 seconds. So, I remember those days, and I have to say, first of all, moms and dads, keep your sense of humor. That's the first thing. I love doing arts and crafts and cooking activities with children. A toddler as young as 2, you can make instant pudding with them and have them stir it with a spoon. Mm-hmm. You can do cookies and have them pat down cookies. And Play-Doh is really fun, but if you do it with a cookie, then they get to eat it for a snack. And you can make oatmeal cookies. They're healthy. If you haven't bought your Girl Scout cookies yet, just a little plug. Anyway. Also, arts and crafts are so easy. When it's not snowy, go to the dollar store and buy a bunch of glue sticks and some construction paper and look around the house. You can take construction paper even and rip it in pieces and give your child a glue stick and let them glue everything on. Put a tablecloth on the floor and let them do all kinds of activities. You can do buttons. If they're older, make sure the buttons are big and they can't put them in their mouth. For young babies, put your baby in the high chair. By young, I mean 9, 10, 11, 12 months. And let them do pudding painting, or take some baby food dessert and put it on a plate. Babies are very tactile. They love to put their hands in things. Yes, it's a mess, but you know what? They love smearing things around when they're really bored. Don't throw anything at me for that one. But just you take the tray off the high chair and you just put it in the sink.
Sure. Just hose them down.
Oh, I used to give mine to my dog. I would take the whole high chair over. Because, it would get, I had one of those old-fashioned high chairs. It was probably mine when I was little. That was wood with the really pretty turn spindle legs. And, SpaghettiOs would get in those cracks and stuff. And I'll tell you, there was nothing better than calling Sally over once, my kids were upstairs, and let them lick that thing clean. And then I would just spray the whole thing down with Lysol.
That's great.
And I think you're right, though, Blythe. Who cares about the mess? You let them explore and let them experience it. And sure, if you've got company coming over in a half an hour, you're not going to pull out the pudding. but you certainly have to
if you like them or not.
That's true. That's true. If you don't want the people coming or staying, pull out that old pudding. I think it's so true, though. You're right, Blythe, that kids are so tactile and they need those kinds of things, and it's a wonderful way to keep them busy. Stay with us, Blythe, until after the commercial break, because we've got lots more questions for you. We're talking to Blythe Lipman from Baby and Toddler Instructions right here on TogiNet on Wednesday mornings at 11 Eastern Standard Time.
Are you a military mom looking for help in dealing with the system? Keeping the home fires burning? Well, that's what we're here for. It's Military Mom Talk Radio with Sandra Beck and Robin Boyd. And we'll be right back after these.
Get the competitive edge and take your success to the next level with the Gold Medal Success Show and your host, Forrest Fisher, 6-time U.S. National Gold Medalist. Tune in every Thursday morning at 8 a.m. Central, 6 Pacific here on the Rockstar Radio Network as Forrest gives you access into the mindset of true champions and helps you apply these success principles to your life and business for immediate results. Each show will feature guest athletes and business experts who have achieved tremendous success and are ready to share their stories of struggle, glory, tragedy, and triumph, revealing tips and strategies Forrest and these guest experts use to propel themselves to world-class success. Many people live their whole lives wanting more. The Gold Medal Success Show will demonstrate that anyone can have a more fulfilling and satisfying life when they put a few basic principles into play. Make every day game day with the Gold Medal Success Show each Thursday morning at 8 a.m. Central here on the Rockstar Radio Network. Are you happy with your life? Satisfied with the direction you're taking? More importantly, are you content with the results you're seeing? Then Success Profiles Radio is the program for you. Join host Brian K. Wright as he talks to experts in many areas relating to life success, including expertise in leadership, business, relationships, careers, networking, health, overcoming adversity, and much more. Each week, we'll explore different aspects of success and how to apply them to your life. For more on Brian and the show, check out his website, briankwright.com. Each week is a dose of inspiration. So many people live their lives wanting more than they currently have. Success Profiles Radio is a show that will clearly demonstrate the principle, if I can do it, you can do it. So don't miss this opportunity to take control of your life and your results. Success Profiles Radio with Brian K. Wright, Mondays at 5 p.m. Central on the Rockstar Radio Network.
We'll put a boot in your ass, it's the American way. Hey, Uncle Sam, put your name at the top of his list, and a statue of liberty started shaking.
Welcome back to Military Mom Talk Radio on TogiNet.com. Covering topics to help on the home front with help from those who know how the system works and how to work the system. It's more fun than a sale at the BX. Now let's get back to it. It's Military Mom Talk Radio. Here again are your hosts, Sandra Beck and Robin Boyd.
Hey, military moms, this is Sandra Beck, and I'm here with Robin Boyd, and I would like to let all our listeners know today that you can pick up our show on iTunes under Military Mom Talk Radio. You can go to the .com by the same name, military.momtalkradio.com, or pick us up on our host station, TogiNet. I'd also like to give you one more number. This is for a phone consultation with Blythe Lipman. I just think this is a resource that cannot be denied. Blythe, how would people reach you for a consultation?
People can go to my website, babyinstructions.com, and they can contact me via email, or they can call me at 480-510-1453. And I'm Mountain Standard Time. I'm in Arizona. But if you wake me up, it's fine, because that means your baby is up and you need help. So feel free to call me for a consult. I love what I do.
I did that once when my son was first home. I was trying to get that breastfeeding down pat, and we were just not in sync with each other. And the nurse at the hospital got a call from me, and it was 2 o'clock in the morning.
And I'm sure she was happy to help.
She was happy to help. I was a brand new mother. I was trying my darndest, and we just were not in sync. And all she heard was him screaming, and then she started hearing me crying, and we got it down. We got it, Pat. I've got 2 very beautiful, healthy children.
You know, I wonder how many moms cry when they nurse. I did. I mean, you don't know. It's not the easiest thing in the world to do until you get the hang of it.
You're right. Well, it did take some. Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you don't get the hang of it, and sometimes they don't work. Like I had, and Rob, you remember this, the Uniboob. I had one that produced milk. I had the other one that was a dud. It was the milk-producing one was huge. The other one was tiny. I couldn't fit on a bra because one of them would be all bunchy. It was miserable. And the health center that I went to gave me this machine. I swear to God, it was like a torture device from the 40s. It went like, and you had to put it to yourself, and it had these little dials that went from 0 to 9, and, you know, you were supposed to start it at 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, one time I left it at 9, and I swear to God, you probably heard me screaming in New Jersey and New Hampshire.
It takes some time.
And it hurts. Nobody tells you it hurts.
It did hurt at first. And it didn't take long, but it did hurt at first. But I was such a proponent because my husband was in between jobs at the time, and I was determined that I was because of financial reasons, and I was determined I was because I was such a proponent of having my child benefit from breast milk. And I know that not every mom can do it, and that there are certainly wonderful formulas, and you got to find the right one for your child. But that was what was right for me. I mean, I don't want to ever say one is better than the other, but yeah, I was a huge proponent.
You know what? I had a guest on my show, and she wrote a book for moms who can't breastfeed because not everybody can, and it's okay.
Yeah, it is okay. Right.
You know what?
Well, I'm going to ask you guys what you think about this one. Like, for my first one, he was so premature that the milk never let down. And even though I pumped after, he was taken out of me, it still never worked right. Now, my second one, he was the Uniboob one. That's the one that worked. I had a toddler, so I would take the extra breast milk and throw it in his stuff. Do you think that helped?
You know what, Sandra? I don't know. Who knows? I mean, breast milk is great. Formula is great. I think the biggest thing that that we forget is that you have to relax. And when you don't relax, then forget it. It makes it twice as hard to nurse. But no, you know what? What's the difference if it's in a bottle, if it's from the breast, I don't know. I
think I just want to cover every base, because with my preemie, and I started calling these women the lactation Nazis, because they were after me, like, going drink the non-alcoholic things. They gave me all these things to eat. They're like pumpy sign. I pumped till I bled. That first baby didn't get a drop because everything got contaminated, and they're like, as soon as the blood gets in it, you can't feed it to them.
Mm-hmm. So it's tough. And you know what's new now that I just heard about? They have some kind of a pill, or I don't know if it's a vitamin that you can take. If you drink, you take this, and then the baby doesn't get the alcohol, supposedly. It doesn't go through the breast milk.
That's a new one.
It was new to me, but I guess none of us are nursing now. So what else can I tell you?
I want some tips for single moms, because, moms, there's not only a lot of single moms in the military, but there's a lot of moms that function, at least child care respect-wise, as a single mom because their husbands are on deployment. I've got some tips to give, but Blythe, I want to hear what you have to say.
I really have to say, first of all, whether you have a deployment situation or a husband that works all the time and travels, it's tough to be a single mom. And you know what? You're expected to do everything, and single moms think they have to be perfect too. But to me, you're doing double duty because you don't get that help. And a lot of times the families don't live near you anymore. They're not next door like they used to be years ago. They're 2,500 miles away, like we were talking about. First of all, my number one tip, and if you want to know some activities, I can share that, but I have to say the number one tip is don't be afraid to ask for help, whether it's your friends, whether there's a play group, whether you have a nursery or a daycare center, wherever you live. Don't be afraid to ask for help. It doesn't make you a bad mother. I mean, trade child care with a friend. And if you don't know anybody, if you're new to the area, get a list of names, see who's in the area, see who has kids. And every mom wants to trade. Every mom wants to be able to just sit down or even take a nap for 20 minutes while somebody they know is qualified taking care of their little ones.
Well, that's those dual play dates. That's what I called them. The dual play dates were what kept my old co-host for my old show and I sane for years, because I would take the older ones, she would take the younger ones, and she was much more patient with the younger ones. I was really good at keeping the older ones entertained, but if we didn't do that, there was no way to get the kids to church, to get them to, she is married to a firefighter, so it's not uncommon for her to be alone for 2 or 3 days at a time. And I tell you, for her just to take the younger ones for one afternoon and I took the older ones, even just that was a huge help.
Well, you have to ask for help and you have to rely on other people. And I was looking at it from the standpoint of taking care of yourself, because even mothers that are not single mothers don't take the time to take care of themselves. And you have to have girlfriend time. You have to do what we're doing and just talk to other women. And you know what? You're a mom first, but you also have to be a woman. You can't just be somebody's mom 24/7. You have to try to balance it, and it's really tough when you're doing it alone. The other thing I want to say for single moms, what's helped a lot of them that I've spoken to is in the beginning of the week, they sit down and they actually write down the activities, what they're going to do. If their kids are young, if they're babies, if they're not in daycare and you're not trading with somebody or having a play group, they'll sit down and pick one activity a day that they're going to do with their child. So they have it. Sometimes when we write things down, it looks easier to us.
Well, and I think it also would help with the guilt, because I know as a single mom with 2 little kids, I would see all these other families going to Disneyland and, going to SeaWorld, and they'd go to the park. And it was like on some days, just for me to get out to the grocery store and drag these 2 kids, I was so exhausted because it's a 24/7 thing. There's no relief when you're a single mom. And if you don't know people in the neighborhood like I didn't, it's really tough. And there's a whole lot of guilt that you're not giving your kids what everybody else is.
You know what you are, you can only do the best that you can do. You can't, it really takes away from it when you feel guilty. You want to know you're doing your best. And so what, if they have 2 different color socks on, or if their clothes don't match, or or if you don't have a healthy snack that day and you're going out and you stop at a, God forbid, McDonald's, or you give them fast food, there's no perfect. You have to do what works for you.
I used to love that little show, Punky Brewster, because she used to wear crazy clothes and different colored socks. So when the kids would get themselves dressed in the morning, if they had Punky Brewster, we called them Punky Brewster socks. And it was okay.
It's all, what else? Parents moms especially get really guilty about putting videos on or putting the baby station on the TV. Mm-hmm. As long as you don't sit your kids in front of it, for 24/7, it's okay if you need that break to take a shower.
Right. I think that you've just given us so much permission, Blythe. Well, Blythe said I could do this, so I'm doing it.
It's okay.
Well, you guys, you will laugh when you hear this. When my kids first started going to overnight at their dad's, now, mind you, this was 4 years after I was a single mother, I would sit down. I'd be so tired. I would automatically tune in like Nicktoons or Nickelodeon or something like that. And I'd be completely by myself, ready to eat my dinner for an evening. And it would take me about 10 minutes to register, oh, my God, I can watch my own channel. But there were many times where I sat down and just automatically tuned to that channel.
That's funny. That's sad, actually.
Blythe, where can we find your book? And there's another one on the horizon, isn't there?
Oh, I'm so excited. You can find my book, of course, at Amazon.com. It's on Audible.com if you want to listen to it. Help, My Toddler Came Without Instructions will be born Mother's Day this year, 2013. And you can also purchase it through my website, babyinstructions.com.
Oh, how exciting. I'm so excited. Blythe Lipman, you're just wonderful. We love you so much.
Thank you for having me. You guys are great. I love you, too. I love being on the show. Anytime. I will stand behind everything. You can write a contract with me for not watching Nick's program. I'm here for you.
Oh my gosh, that's wonderful. Yeah, and I do encourage you to tune into the show because boy, does she cover some great topics, and she has some super guests. Speaking of guests, next week we have a little spin. We have Dr. Suzanne Phillips coming back with us. She comes and visits us quite often, and we love it when she does. We're going to get into some PTSD issues next week, and also we have Stephen Boyd returning as our veteran correspondent next week. So we'll definitely have lots to talk about next week. You won't want to miss it right here on Military Mom Talk Radio. For Sandra Beck, this is Robin Boyd. Have a great week.